Hello everyone, it's time for another edition of our military community. I'm Jerry Tabatt. We've got a great show lined up for you today. Be talking to a couple of ladies that have started a brand new group here in town. It's called the Women's Veterans Group, and there's a lot of different things that they're doing, a lot of things they can need help with, but it's just another way where the veterans in this community are working in our community with one another, with outside groups to make sure that our veteran community is taken care of. And without further ado, joining me this morning are a couple of the young ladies from the Women's Veterans Group, Margaret Paul and Stacy Winter. Thanks to both of you for coming in today. This is something else that's just gotten started, but before we talk about this, I want to get to know each one of you a little bit better here. So, Margaret, tell us about you.
I am a retired Navy corpsman. I spent 20 years on active duty, was stationed in Long Beach, San Diego, Iwakuni, Japan, Pax River, Maryland. I retired in 2004 and then moved here that same year. My first husband grew up here, so we moved here to be closer to his family, and now I am self-employed as a life and health coach, and I'm involved in lots of different activities.
Yeah. And besides that, you're also, along with me, in the Bay County Chamber of Commerce, Military Affairs, Community, and everything. Stacy, a little bit about you, please.
My name's Stacy Winter. I'm from Kentucky originally, and grew up in Kentucky. Wasn't a lot to do, so I decided to join the Navy. I did boot camp in Orlando. I was stationed at Pax River, Maryland, and then I was in the reserves. And then when I was in the reserves, I was mobilized to Bahrain. Met a Royal Navy sailor while I was in Bahrain, and ended up living in England for the last 19 years. So when we decided to move back to the States, we didn't want to go anywhere that had ever rained, so we decided to move to Florida because we needed a lot of sun to make up for the dreary weather in England. So that's why we chose Florida as our new home. But yeah, we wanted to start a women's group as we couldn't find one here in.
And that's what's good about it. And by the way, Margaret, you're the treasurer of the group.
Yes.
And Stacy, you are sergeant at arms.
Yep.
And that's my first question. What made you decide to start this group anyway?
I went out to different VSOs, the different legions, and when I would join or show up, I was always asked if I was auxiliary. And it's very disheartening when you're the service member and all you're recognized at is being a spouse. Yeah. And so I really wanted to start this group, and then I ran into Stacy at a chamber first Friday and found out she was a sailor, so we started talking about a group. And then Nancy over at the AMVETS in Callaway reached out to us. She wanted to start the group, and through the course of time, Nancy has unfortunately not been able to participate, but we got it up and running. And it's really cool. We're having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've I think we're up to about 12 members at the moment. We've got new ladies joining us all the time. But yeah, I've consistently had people, like when I'm wearing my Navy shirt that says Lady Vet on it and it has a big anchor, and they're like, "Oh, you're a veterinarian?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I am a veteran." And and then, "Oh, what does your husband? What was he?" And it's like, "No, I'm the veteran, not my husband."
And see, and that's what's good about what you guys have got set up here, because as a military veteran myself, guys, we can talk to people. It seems like there's all kinds of things going. And the women, like you said, Stacy, they're like, well, you're the spouse or the mother or whatever. They don't realize that you guys have put that uniform on and served our country too. So it's very important out there that they realize in our community that women veterans are just as important as guys. It doesn't make any difference what sex you are. We all have the same job to do. And it's nice that you finally put this together, and I appreciate what you're doing. And I know it's not easy. You didn't start this until last year. So what are some of the things you had to go through to actually get things set up, and what obstacles did you face?
Trying to figure out what we want to do. That's been the biggest obstacle, because we all have a lot of different ideas on what we want to do with this group. And, since we are new, how do you start a group? I reached out to a few women veterans nationwide groups, and I didn't get a lot of feedback. Did find out that the Vet Center downtown was very interested in us starting this group also. So I reached out to them for a little bit of guidance, and they were able to help a little bit. But we had to find a place to meet. We had to get people. We're still struggling to get women involved, and I talk to a lot of women on a regular basis about the group, and they're interested, but then they don't show up to the meetings. So we're still working on getting our name out there and getting our information out there. So that's been, I think, probably our biggest struggle is getting
I think
more people.
women maybe believe that it could be a support group, and there are a lot of support groups
Sure.
out there for female veterans, so we kind of very much want it to be a social group. We don't want it, obviously we do support each other.
Right.
But we want it to be more, we want to have fun. We want to go out. We want to get the name out there that women are veteran, as
That's
well.
it, yeah.
And we want it to be a social, fun group. We don't want it to be a support group, mainly.
And one good thing about it, too, is because you have the experience of the military, you can identify with other military veterans, especially females, and it's easier on them, and it's easier. One person can do a lot, but if you put 2 people together or 3 people together, you start to get more things done. So I know it's been very difficult to get things set up, but you're starting to get going with that now, and the interest is coming out, and hopefully people will watch this interview and become interested in it. But one of the things that there's a lot of questions on, guys, we talk amongst us, we know we want health care, we want dental care if it's possible, we want our disabilities and that. But what are some of the things that female, specifically veterans, need?
Recognition
In what respect?
that we're the veterans. That's what we need. We
That-
really do.
The resounding kind of, over and over from every female veteran we've talked to is that they're never recognized with the same respect
Right.
as the male veteran. Even my son, when I was going to a function and I had a veteran shirt on, my son was like, "Oh, you're going to something for Dad." And I'm like, "No."
See, that's the thing. And that's
For me.
Yeah, and that's the big obstacle that we have to get people to get through. That you guys breathe the same air we do, you bleed the same color we do, and just because you're female does not diminish anything. And for my 20 years in the military, I mean, there's a lot of females that actually perform better than the males, and you're right, they didn't get recognized for it as much. But can you kind of see a subtle change taking place now that you're getting out and talking to people?
I think there's been a subtle change happening for many years. Since I joined and then retired, it is becoming a lot more commonplace for women to be recognized as veteran. But there's still a long way to go. I don't feel there's a large amount of discrimination, and some may disagree with me on that. But I don't feel that I've been discriminated. I think it's more I'm just not recognized.
Right.
And so rather, we don't look the part necessarily.
Sure.
A lot of military men, they've kind of got that physical appearance, the haircut, we don't. And so in order for a lot of people to recognize that we're the veteran, we have to wear something that says we are the veteran. Yeah. And I think it'll continue to change and be more acceptable that, maybe acceptable is not the right word, but more recognized.
Well, acceptable too, because let's face it, you're breaking new ground here with every step that you take. Stacy, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That it is, like I said, very slowly changing, I guess, the perception of, there are more and more women nowadays in the military. So it is kind of slowly gaining ground that women, are, yes, you see them more commercials are out there with, women veterans, and people with disabilities. So it is kind of, it is slowly changing. It's just we want to get the word out there that, hey, we're here. We're in Bay County, come and join us, and hopefully, we can get as many women out there to support as we can.
And what's been the response from some of the male veterans, like at the VFWs and that, and other spouses and things? What do they think about what you ladies are trying to do?
I think most part they're pleased with what we do, but I still get pushback. We get called the ladies or the girls, and it's not a very positive statement. And so there's a few that we get some pushback from still. It's more that this is for men, not for women.
You see the same thing, Stacy? That kind of surprises me that male veterans in particular, and it actually kind of irritates me that they give you that pushback because you're just as good as I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it's just that perception that most of the movies, and it's been for decades that it's kind of ingrained in people that men are the veterans, men are the breadwinners, and that kind of thing. I suppose but we have to try to just do everything we can to kind of break that perception and like we're just as equal. I volunteered to go into a war zone and be mobilized when I was in the Navy. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do my part, and I want a bit of recognition that I was there alongside all the male veterans as well. So I would like to be recognized as equal. Not better or more than, just
exactly.
equal.
Right.
And I understand that completely. Now, trying to get this awareness out and make connections in the community is sometimes difficult, especially with a new group, and especially when we're talking, let's face it, women's veterans. People still want to show a little resistance to that, say, what are these ladies trying to do here, So getting this awareness out and the different connections in the community. Stacy, I'll start with you on this one. What are some of the things that you need other organizations to do in this community to help you get the word out about women's veterans?
Well, I guess overall, we would like to kind of put out our information at maybe the different American Legions, Veterans of Foreign Wars, AMVETS, all these different maybe service organizations, because they usually have like their TVs where they advertise things that are going on. Maybe they could advertise that we have a women's veterans group that we meet at the AMVETS in Callaway on the third Wednesday of every month, just to give those other posts like, hey, there's a women's group. Wow, that's great. Just so, we could reach other women veterans that may not, we may not have come across them, and that would be a good place to start.
What do you think, Margaret?
That would definitely be a big help for the VSOs to be able to do that. But, just in general for the community to understand that there is a large group of women veterans here and that we are a growing number. And, getting the word out. I know that we ran into quite a few women at the VFW there on Sherman, right? Mm-hmm. And that was last year. We had a Women's Veterans Day honoring there. And there were quite a few combat veterans there. And that was really awesome to see them. They seem to have a very tight-knit group there. And that's kind of what we're looking for, too.
Yeah, and that's one thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize. They say, oh, yeah, okay. You have female combat veterans, some in the Iraq War and the Gulf War, but actually before that, there was veterans, female veterans. And people, how do you educate the public on that? To let them know that you just didn't start, 20 years ago.
Yeah, we have a few slightly older ladies in our group that, they've been in combat situations, and they're there to tell their stories and get the word out that we're here, and we enjoy socializing with each other, telling our stories just as much as our male counterparts like sitting around the bar and telling their stories, and we're here and we're part of it, and we just wanted everybody to know that we're here and we want to do our part in getting the word out.
And as we grow, we want to visit the VSOs, we want to visit different organizations and do more education, because there was a lot of nurses that served in Vietnam that people don't even know there were women nurses in Vietnam. And there were there were other jobs that women held while in Vietnam, but that was a big group. And I just recently read a book about that. That was just really moving and amazing how the women were treated.
Now, one thing that a lot of our viewing audience realize, that because they've heard this over and over about the male veterans, they have problems trying to get, again, like we said earlier, health care, disability benefits, and things like that. What are some of the things that you have difficulties with getting? Besides, I know health care is a problem, disability is a problem. It takes, almost an act of Congress to get one of them.
Yeah, I'm going through, like I said, because we've moved here from England where everything is free. You don't have to prove that there is anything wrong with you. It's just because it's free, you just get treated. Whereas over here, you have to prove that it's service connected. You have to go through the process, and see all the doctors, and yeah, it takes time, and it's frustrating, and you feel like a lot of times they don't believe you or that you're exaggerating, and yeah, it just adds to the stress of having to go over it
And that's
over and
understandable.
over.
I know you mentioned before too, Margaret, about the frustration and not being recognized. How do you deal with that? I mean, how do you keep cool, calm, and collected and not, let people know that how you really feel? I mean, you have
Because-
to be professional.
Yes,
about
we have to be professional. I want to make a good impression. I don't want them to see us as a group of women that are looking for more than what we deserve. I don't want to be that woman that's always complaining. I want to be professional. I'm a military retiree, and I want to be that person.
Right.
And so when people ask if I'm the spouse, then I respectfully let them know, no, I'm the veteran.
Right.
And I did have to explain it more than once to one person. They were just stuck on the fact that I was auxiliary, and I said,
Right.
no, I'm the veteran.
Yeah, and that's the thing that is so frustrating to me too, is when and I've seen some of that before with some of the things I've done in the community. It's very irritating in a way that they don't want to accept you the way you are. So that's the purpose of this. We're going to get the education out. Now,
Yes.
getting this group going and everything, and to try and do some of the things that you want to do, how do you get funds involved with this to help with the expenses? And that's probably a big headache right now.
Well, we've done some fundraisers at the AMVETS in Callaway, and that's been very helpful. We have a small pool of money right now. We're looking at taking on and you could probably talk better about that. What we're going to do in March.
We're going to pair with the Florida State University and do a Celebrate Her service, celebration lunch. So we're going to be looking for someone to sponsor the lunch for that event. But it's just going to be a couple hours of women telling their stories We'll have them recorded, so they'll talk about their service and where they served and how long they served, and those will be playing in the background while the ladies are having their lunch, and we'll have a guest speaker come in, and FSU has very kindly given us the Holly Center for that. So yeah, we'll be looking for more women veterans to be part of that and tell their stories, and sponsors. So hopefully we can give away some raffles and sponsors to sponsor the luncheon.
Right now, Margaret, you're pretty much confined here in DeBay County. Do you look at building this organization a little bit further, like say to Walton County, Jackson County, going across the Panhandle?
Oh, that would be awesome. I would love it if we could do that. Just we got to get there.
You're going to get there. It takes
a while. Yes.
It takes so much hard work and everything. You talked about doing some small fundraisers and everything. How do you get the word out on that? I mean, you need some help. I mean, media help and things like that. Do you have any contacts in there, or is there something that I can do to help the group going and get it going for you?
Well, we have our Facebook page. We just recently got an email address, so we're slowly building all of that. We've got a messenger group that we put the information out. So we put it out on our Facebook page, and then we all share it onto our personal pages. And then we've got the email address, so we can start doing that.
And we're hopefully soon we'll have a website maybe, so we can get a bit more traction from that. We hope, but yeah, at the AMVETS at Callaway usually put any of our information on their roster that plays while people are at AMVETS, they see it on the screens and stuff. That's been how we've advertised so far, just locally there at the AMVETS. So.
And then when we do different functions, so we're going to be at Kent Forest Lawn for the Memorial Day honoring, and hopefully we'll have some literature out there by that point, so that we can pass that out to individuals. And then as like when I'm going around at all the different functions that I go to, even the farmers market, if I come across a female veteran, I make sure to let them know about our group and give them the information, show them our Facebook page, tell them about our meeting, our social events, and whatever else is coming up.
And that's the thing is, once this group catches on, you're going to find out how it's going to keep snowballing for you, and that's going to be good. But the initial phase is the toughest part of it. Now, What are some of the things, I know you've done several things already, but just, what are some of the things you guys have done so far? I mean, I got a list for you earlier. It's a pretty good sized list of what you've done so far.
Yeah, I think we started back in October. I think a Friday the 13th theme was our first function. We meet the third Wednesday of every month just to have our normal meeting to discuss what kind of events we want to do. But usually we have our normal meeting, we'll have a lunch on the second Saturday, and then usually we'll try and do something else as well. And that depends on like if anything's going, like we've had a St. Patrick's Day party, we had
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras, yeah.
We did Christmas cards for the veterans at Sims Hospital.
Sims.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, and I've been over there and visited with them. And what's that like? I mean, they don't have a lot of
We
veterans,
didn't go
female
over
veterans
there.
over there.
They only had
Two, I think.
two or
three.
three, right? And so we made cards for them, and then we also marched in the Veterans Day Parade last year. That was our first.
That was our first big
That was our
function.
first big function,
Yeah.
yes. And we got, Stacy and I got to be on the news.
All right.
Yep, they as they panned the crowd, we were there, and we were saluting. It's a that's on our Facebook page, is that picture, which is really a cool picture.
One of the things you talked about too is not getting the proper recognition about women's veterans in that. As you meet with the male side of the veteran community, what is the difference between those, say, from the Vietnam era to those today? Is there a difference in the thinking? It seems to me like the older gentlemen, they want to accept this a little bit better than some of the younger guys out there.
I haven't noticed a pattern like that. It's
that's
just
good.
kind of hit or miss, honestly. I've had young men and older gentlemen that have been resistant, just as I've had the same as being very accepting, understanding, you know, and respectful.
Now, as you continue to grow with this, I know that you need all kinds of information from things going on in the community. If people have any suggestions, in addition to that Facebook page, and that'll all be at the end of this interview and everything, that they can watch it back, what are some of the other ways that people can get information to you? Can they just like show up at AMVETS? They don't have to be a veteran to go into that, do they?
Not to show up as a visitor. I think anybody can come in as a visitor. They just have to be a member. But if they wanted to reach out to us, you know, they could come there. They could come to one of our social events. They could reach out to us through Facebook.
Yeah, I think we had two ladies come to the Sims to make the Christmas cards that
Sure.
weren't veterans. So
Right.
yeah, I mean we would never turn anybody
Well,
away that
that's
would
it.
want to participate, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. We just want to be a fun group, have fun, get the word out who we are, and just be there for women and support everybody really.
Well, and that's the thing, is getting the word out. But you also have another event. You told me just before we started this interview, you're going to do, you're taking over Coffee with a Vet.
We voted on that last night, and that's our plan right now, is to take over Coffee with a Vet.
And you know a lot about that program,
I
Stacy.
work with
Tell us about that again.
I work with the Florida Veterans Support Line, and on the first Wednesday of every month, I hold Coffee with a Vet, which is just an informal chat for any veterans to come if they don't want to maybe go to the VA, but they had some questions about maybe their disability or just about anything really, maybe finding some help if they think they drink too much, or, you know, if they need a service animal or something, and they just don't know where to go with a question. They can come in for an informal chat, sit down with us. We can look it up. We can have a chat, and it would never go on a record anywhere or
And that's
anything
the
like
thing,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, but I'm losing some of the funding for that. So the women's group has voted we're going to run it through the women's group. So that's amazing.
And we're going to keep it on the same day.
We're going to keep it, yeah, on
And
the
that
first
day again
Wednesday.
is?
The first Wednesday of every month at Waffle Shop on 6th Street from 8:30 to 10:30.
All you got to do is show up. Coffee's free, but if you want breakfast, you got to pay for that yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Now, switching gears just a little bit here, you're getting some of the support from the community. Have you had anyone, say in the government, be it local, state, or federal, are they becoming aware of that? I know Senator Jay Trumbull is a great guy, and I'm going to interview him in a couple of weeks, but has he reached out, or have you tried to reach out to some of our local politicians, like the mayors and the councils and that?
No,
No,
not yet.
not
No, we're
yet.
still I guess, quite new still. So, yeah, we haven't really gotten that far yet with any of it.
Just a vet center downtown.
Just the vet center downtown. Well, that's a good start. That's a good
Yes.
start. Now, as you go forward, what are some of the things, Margaret, that you would like to see happen in the future with this Women's Veterans Group?
I would like to see us be more out in the community, go visit the different VSOs, maybe rotate where we hold our meetings so that it's not always the Callaway AMVETS has been wonderful. They are so accommodating. We love going there, but it would be nice to hold it in different places. That way, individuals that live in different parts of Bay County don't have to travel as far, because it's a little bit of a drive. Stacy lives in Fountain, so that's a little of a drive. I live
Sure.
on the beach. And so it would be nice if we were to bounce it around a little bit, go to different posts and hold the meetings. And I'd like to, get more people, just get more women involved in what we're doing and, bring more awareness so that we can be active as a recognized organization in Bay County, the same as the Legions and the AMVETs and the Fleet Reserve and the VFWs, but a layer of those. We're not a separate organization, but we are. It's kind of
Sure.
an odd situation. We're just another layer.
And you'll get to where you're going. Stacy, what are some of the things you'd like to see specifically accomplished in the future?
Yeah, absolutely the same. Yeah, because it is a drive for some people. I understand a lot of people may not be able to make it to Callaway, so that would be ideal if we would be able to move it around. Plus, that would give the other organizations the opportunity that, okay, maybe they didn't know there was stuff going on at the AMVETS, but if you're part of the VFW, then, and it, you see that they're, it's coming up on the calendar, you can make a point to kind of visit and see what it's about, and we're coming to you kind of thing, so you don't have to do anything special except turn up on that night. Hopefully that would get a few more women aware of us and, maybe grow our numbers a little bit, because I think we've got about 12 to 14 kind of a core group right now, and maybe a few other that just kind of come here and there. But we are growing, and we would love to see it grow more.
And that's the thing, it's growing pains, but you know what, ladies, you're going to get it done the way it needs to be done, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and more things coming out in the community with that. Very quickly, we'll have all the information on your Facebook page and everything at the end of this interview. When people watch it, they can click on it and that. What are some of the things you'd like to see put on your Facebook page from other people in the community with questions, things like that, military questions, whatever?
Oh, questions, letting us know about other activities that are going on, different groups.
Yeah, just if they need help with anything, we want to support things, we can volunteer and be part of things if because there's a good core group of us, and we want to be active, we want to be involved in things. So yeah, if we can support things, and there's a few of us that can volunteer and help out, and we want to be part of the Vietnam Wall when it comes in November, so we're going to volunteer a lot of the slots for that.
We've got a couple of minutes left, we're about to run out of time, but very quickly, Margaret, what are your final thoughts about this, what we talked about today?
I am very grateful for this opportunity to be able to talk about our group and get the word out there to more people. So thank you very much.
Stacy?
Yeah, absolutely. The more, we can let people know that we're here, and, we're very inclusive, and yeah, I'm just honored to be part of this group of amazing women veterans. It's been so humbling. I just love it.
Yeah.
Looking at your faces, I can see the smiles and everything. You ought to be proud of what you're doing, because this is something that's been needed for a long, long time, and you're doing it all on your own. You're not getting something. Maybe eventually you can turn this into a 501(c) or something, but in the meantime, continue with the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you for coming in. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We're about out of time once again for this edition of our military community. But remember, this Women's Veterans Group, it's very, very important that they continue to get your support from this community, and they're open to any suggestions, any ideas that you may have. And as this word starts coming out and you watch this interview over and over, you'll listen to some of the things that they've been doing. Get in contact with them. That's the only way you can do it. And the Vet Center downtown is a good way to do that. I know the people over there, they're always great people, and they'll be willing to help out any way that they can. Women's Veterans Group, it's something we've needed a long time, and you ought to be proud that right here in Bay County, we are getting it started. That'll do it for this edition of our military community. I'm Jerry Tabatt. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.